over here. Where is it? Hold on. Okay, so yesterday we actually had a lot of halacha l'maisa. I guess I'll text out the halacha l'maisa from yesterday later. So if a woman, we first thing we said, why braiding hair and putting on makeup is asur. Right, we ended up coming out that braiding hair is considered a form of building, and makeup is dyeing, D-Y-E, well, whatever, yeah. Then we said if she does it to herself, she's potter, because you can't do a good job on yourself. But if you do it to somebody else, then you could do a good job, so then you would be chayiv. Then we had squeezing out milk, making whey, curdling, that's what it was, curdling. That's the way it is. Curdling and making cheese on Shabbos, then taking off a honeycomb on Shabbos, then sweeping the floors and putting water on the dirt in order to smooth it out so it doesn't make dust. Then we said washing hands on the dirt floor in order to settle the dust, meaning if the dust is acting up on Shabbos, and you're not allowed to put the water all over, so what you do is you wash your hands in one corner, wash your feet in another corner, thank you, and you wash your face in another corner, and then that ends up doing it, right? And we said Allah is like Reb Shimon, who says that it's a davar she'eino mischaber. Fine. Then we said the Mishnah picking fruits from a flower pot that has a hole in it. And Reb Shimon says he doesn't care about the flower pots. He said you're never chayav. And then on Amud Beis we said Reb Shimon agrees that in order to make, right, when something becomes, in order for food to become tamei, it needs to have water on it. So in a flower pot, even if it has a hole, Reb Shimon holds it's attached to the ground, and therefore, and then 1 second. I'm sorry, he looks at it like it's detached from the ground, right? And therefore the water on it is going to make it be able to be mekabel tumah. And then we asked if Reb Shimon, then we basically said that Reb Shimon holds that when the hole is at the bottom, then he agrees that the flower pot is considered attached to the ground. Fine, so that gets us up to about halfway down the Amud, Amar Rava. Yeah, Amar Rava, Daf Tzadi Hey Amud Beis. Amar Rava, Chamesh Midas B'Kli Cheres. Right? There are 5 different measurements by Kli Cheres. That doesn't mean that Kli Cheres learns Musar and it has 5 different positive midas. Right? It means 5, a little bit Milsa B'Dichusa when we started over here. Yeah, so Chamesh Midas B'Kli Cheres, there are 5 measurements for Kli Cheres. So, Nikev Kamaitzi Mashka, Tar Milatame Gistera. This needs a little bit of explanation, but let's touch it first. If it makes a hole in the earthenware, the amount that liquid would come out of it, then it would be tar from being Mitame a Gistera. A Gistera basically means a shard, a shard of earthenware, right? So, again, we said yesterday that when you bust up a kli, how do you get an earthenware kli can't be kosher, right? So when an earthenware kli becomes tummy, how do you make it kosher again? So you smash it, and then you smash it, and then you can put it back together again. Then you're going to be okay, right? So there's 5 different levels of being smashed. So theoretically, you could have a shard of earthenware if it has a hole in it that would let liquid out from the hole, meaning it would drip out through this hole, then it will not become Tomei Gistera. But if it can't, it will, if there's no holes in it, then it would still be Tomei. Even a shard of earthenware would be Tomei, because basically you use it to stuff up another earthenware. Let's say you have earthenware that has a hole in it. So you would take this Gistera, this shard of earthenware, and put it under that hole, and that would hold the liquid inside the other earthenware. So therefore, or any type of kli. So therefore, if it has a hole in it, then you're obviously not going to use that. So how big does that hole have to be? Enough that water would leak out of it. Okay, that's level number 1. But that would still be considered a kli to be mekadosh the mechatas, meaning the mechatas that you mix with the paraduma, with the ashes from paraduma. So you have to bring it in a kli. So that kli, if it had a little tiny hole in it, that would still be considered a kli in order to bring the mechatas, even if it has a slight drip. However, if the hole is big enough that the water will come inside to the kli, then that's too big. again, you need a little bit of science here. The water dripping out of for water to drip out of a cup, let's take a cup for example. Right? So let's say I have liquid in here in this cup, yeah. So and then it's a tiny hole. So it's going to make a smaller hole for the liquid to drip out than to get liquid to go in. Meaning, how do you get liquid to go in? So let's say I had a puddle, and I put the cup down on top of the puddle. It's going to require a bigger hole for the water to go into the cup than it will take for the water to leave the cup, right? So the first level is if it has a big enough hole to drip out, so then it's going to be tummy. It will no longer be tummy gistera because it's useless as a shard because it leaks. But it will still be this cup would still be good to do the melachos, right? Because the water will not go in if I put it down, right? But if you put it down and then the water will go into it, that means the hole is larger. So then you would not be good for melachos. But vadayin, back in the Gemara, yeah, vadayin klihu lahachshir b'zroim. But it would still be considered a kli to be machshir zroim, which we said yesterday. Meaning, if you had a kli and you had plants in it and it had a hole in it, as long as the water, even if the water can go in from the outside, that's still considered a kli. And if you poured water on the plants, then they would become kosher to become tumah. Nikav kisharish katan. Then if it gets a hole like a small root, then even if you pour water on it, it will not make it kosher to become tameh. But you can store olives in there, right? You have a tiny little hole the size of a root in this cup, right? I could still use that cup to store olives, right? So therefore, for olives, it's going to be considered mikabel tumah. I skipped. Nikav kamoitzi zaysim. If he makes a hole the size of an olive, so then tahar milakabel by zaysim. Then it's tahar from being makabel olives. Vadayin kliu lakabel b'remainim, and it's still a kli to be makabel pomegranates. Right. So that's the fifth level. Nikav kamoitzi remainim tahar miklum. If it becomes whole, if the opening comes out to the size of a pomegranate, then it's tahar from everything, and then you're good to go. Meaning. Right? It's again, there's 5 levels. A tiny hole that only water will escape from the cup. A slightly bigger hole that water will be able to seep into the cup. I guess that would be the right word. That's level number 2. Level number 3 is a big enough hole, a big enough opening that will allow out a little bit of how do you call it, a shirish, a little root. Right? Then an opening big enough for olives, and then an opening big enough for pomegranates. Once you get an opening bigger than a pomegranate, then there's nobody that's going to use that cup, and therefore it's going to be totally tar. Right?
In this case, does this hole have to be bedavka on the bottom, not the side, like we showed before?
Yeah. Well, less higher than holding the revius. That's what I think.
Higher than holding a revius or lower?
Well, I mean, you mean in order to make it tameh? Yeah, it would have to be lower. Yeah, if you wanted it to be tar, then higher. Yeah. Right? Very good, yeah? So then we say another thing.
Yaakov, now you brought up the Revius story. So, but now we hold you can make Kiddush less than a Revius. So if something could hold only an ounce and a half, you can make Kiddush on it.
Yeah, if you go with...
Well, a lot of people go with that shit.
Yeah, that goes with the Taz. It was really like 2 weeks ago in the blot, right? We discussed it like 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Right? It was based on the Gemara from 2 weeks ago. And a Chanami. So
and by the way, now I bringing it up, I actually owe a credit to Reb Chaim Sugar, who actually was mechadish to me the concept of making Kiddush on a kais. I got called out by Shmuley for not mentioning it.
That
was two weeks ago, the blot. We were talking about the shiurim. Right?
You make on schnapps, you're saying?
On schnapps, yeah.
Yeah.
So Tziyako said, I'm makbid to make on a kais.
Oh.
Yes.
So I got that from Chaim Sugar.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, so no, and a Chanami. So you're saying that if it's a schnapps glass, maybe it's less.
Yeah.
That the measurement would be less. Okay, maybe. I guess the schnapps wasn't one of the options back then for earthenware, I guess.
Until the Taz, then the ruptures.
Okay, right. And a Chanami. Okay, I hear that. Yeah. So weiter. V'im hukaf tzamid psil. Now let's say it's surrounded. The earthenware kli is surrounded. Hukaf means surrounded. Tzamid psil. It's sealed. right? Basically, an earthenware has a very interesting halacha about it, that it won't become tamei from the outside, right? Earthenware can't become tamei. Let's say you have a sheretz, touches the outside of earthenware kli. It doesn't make it tamei. The way it becomes tamei is if the sheretz is hanging in, if the sheretz is inside the kli. Let's say this is made out of earthenware, this plastic cup. So if the sheretz is hanging over here, then through the airspace of the kli, it will make it tamei, right? But what happens if it's sealed, but then there becomes a big hole, let's say in the bottom or the side, right? So now, and the tamei goes in that way. So what's the status? So that's what it says, V'im hukaf tzamid psil, ad sheyifchas ruba, you need to have roiv of the cup has to be open. Roiv of the cup has to have an opening. Meaning if it's sealed on top, in order to get the tamei in there, it has to be, in order to make it not tamei anymore, then it has to be open most of the way. Amar Rav Asi shamati ki cher shiur k'moitzi riman. Rav Asi said he heard differently. It doesn't have to be open most of the way. It doesn't have to be missing most of the cup. He heard that the shear is the same shear as a regular earthenware, which is a big enough hole to let out a pomegranate. So Amalei Rav Hashem lo shamata elav mukaf tzamid psil. Maybe you only heard this where it was mukaf tzamid psil, right? Maybe right. So he's saying maybe that's when you heard this. So the Gemara says Amalei Rav Hashem lo shama. I'm sorry. Amalei Rav Hashem lo shamata mukaf tzamid psil. V'har Rav hu damar mukaf tzamid psil at sheyifchas rubai. Rav is telling you maybe you only heard this Maitzi Riman when it's Mukaf Tzamid Psil, right? When it's sealed up. So then the Gemara says, Rav says very beferish that if something's Mukaf Tzamid Psil, if it's sealed, then the only way for it to become tar is when most of the kli goes missing. So it's a stira on Rava. Like kasha is not a kasha. Habaraveri, habazutri. One is talking about a large kli, and one is talking about a small kli, right? So it's actually, this is a Machlokes Rashi and Tosfos here where they say exactly the opposite of each other. Similar to yesterday with the fingernails where they said, or the hanging skin, they said total opposites of each other. Here's also. Rashi says, but Rav Ravi, if it's a large kli that's sealed, so you need to be missing most of it. If it's a small kli, then it just needs a riman. And Tosfos says Tosfos has a very strong kasha on Rashi, and he says it's the opposite. By a large kli, it has to have opening of a pomegranate, and by a small kli, it has to be missing most. Okay, so Amar Rav Asi, then the Gemara just seemingly repeats these inyanim. Amar Rav Asi, shining kli cheres shiura b'kainis mashka. We heard that a kli shining. We learned that a kli cheres, its shear is k'kainis mashka, right? It's enough for the liquid to go in, and that will make it no longer a kli. V'lo yamru maitzi mashka. And the only time we said that the measurement to make it possible, to make it no longer tamei, is by a gister, by a shard, which is what we said before, right? The regular kli needs to have enough water to go in. The whole opening has to be big enough to allow water in, and the gister needs to have enough water, just enough water to let it go out. My time, the reason that it would make the gister no longer tamei is because we don't say to somebody, bring a shard to stuff up another shard, meaning once a shard has a hole in it, you just throw it out. It's totally useless. So you're not going to say, I'm going to bring another shard to stuff up this shard. So since it becomes useless, even with the slightest amount of opening, so therefore, that will make it tar. Two Amoraim in Marava had a Machlokes. One said that the measurement is the size of a pomegranate. That's how big the hole has to be in the kli in order to become tar. And one says like the small root. The simanech and the siman to remember who says what is echad amarve ve'echad amamet. Right? That's a Gemara, right? Echad amarve ve'echad amamet v'vat sheyichav liable l'shamayim. Right? Whether one is said a lot and one said a little, meaning one opinion goes with the maximum, which is a pomegranate, and one goes with the minimum for a kli, which is for a useful kli, which is the shirish cotton. Nobody says anywhere in the middle. That's what it means. A marbe and mamet. Fine. Amar Rav Chinera, Bar Kahana, Mishmei Rav Eliezer, Kli Cheres Shiyurei K'Maitzi Zeisim. Kli Cheres, the shear for the opening to make it tar, is Maitzi Zeisim. U'Makshisha Brei the Rabba, Messiah Mishmei Rav Eliezer, Barehin Kli Glalim, Kli Avanim, Kli Adama. They're similar to Kli Glalim, that's made out of dung. Kli Avanim is stoneware. Kli Adama exactly why Kli Adama is different than Kli Cheres is not so clear. Kli Cheres is earthenware. Kli Adama is made out of I don't know what the modern version of Kli Adama is, but it's like made out of dirt, but not
Mud.
Mud. Mud, is that what they say?
Like a brick probably.
Okay, you mean it made out of that?
So
Okay.
it's clay.
Clay, maybe clay, Taka, maybe clay.
Cheres
Yeah.
is clay, no?
What?
Cheres is clay?
I think
No,
so.
no.
Cheres is earthenware, which I don't even know what that means. I
clay.
don't know. I've been learning earthenware since I'm a kid. I have no idea what earthenware is. You know what I mean? Maybe I
That's
go to
clay.
an earthenware museum.
Yeah. I think
What did he say?
Earthenware is clay.
Earthenware is clay. So then
Yeah.
Adama is what?
Clay.
Dirt. What did you say? Somebody say Adama. Somebody have an art school there? How do they touch it? Okay, Glolim is for sure, that's dung. Avonim is stone. Adama is from the ground. How is it different than clay?
He says
Clay.
it's a difference from earthenware in that they are not baked in a kiln.
That's it? Otherwise, it's made out of the same material?
He doesn't say that, or he doesn't say that. He just says see Rashi from above. But I don't know what above on 58A.
You know, you have earthenware that's like shiny. That would be from the ones from the kiln, and the ones that are rough are the other ones.
Oh yeah, because I thought the kiln they put on well, that's a different thing. The ones that are shiny, they put
Shiny
like
just means it's glazed.
right. So it's glazed. That becomes a whole shiloh whether it's
Yeah.
made to be makabel.
When the kids in camp make stuff, so they make a cup, and if they don't put it in the oven, you can still use it. Then it's like we said, clay. When you put it in the oven, then it gets the glaze and all that.
So what about things that are made out of stone? What would that go under?
Stone? No, stone doesn't need tefillas kalim. Stone does not need tefillas kalim.
Hold on a second. So these shot glasses that are made out of stone did not.
See, the
need
problem is
to
that they're
be totaled?
shiny. The problem is that they're shiny. What makes the shine on them?
Polish. They polish.
Yeah,
Is
it
it
it's just
polish
polish.
or is it glass? Is it polish
No,
or glass?
It's just polish. It's stone.
Okay, so then it doesn't need tefillah. No, does not need tefillah's kalim.
Oopsie. Oh, shame kavod.
Like a
You made a
pestle
rough on it. All right.
The pestle mortar is porous. It wasn't glazed, so that wouldn't need.
Right, that would not need. It's only if you add a glass layer to it, and even that's very controversial whether that even needs. That gets into the whole China business. Ramesha Feinstein, they said that it does not need tefillah, but a lot of other poskim were chaylik on them. In the old days they didn't do it. Now I think everybody does do it without a bracha, whatever it is. But yeah, so that's made out of. Well, that's made out of. Well, China's officially made out of bone. No, is that bone China? China's made out of earthenware. Then there's bone China. That's a different type
Bone
of China.
china
Right?
doesn't mean that it's actually made out of bone.
There used to be.
I don't think it.
No?
Unless it was ground up and pressed, there's no way to find a bone big enough to make a plate.
Well, I mean, you can lay it out. No, squeeze. You know what I mean?
Our Chinese bones might be a little wider.
Yeah, you're certainly
That's
not
where all the
finding a
dinosaur
big enough
bones
bone
went.
in China.
I think the bone china just means that when you hold it up to the light, you can see through it. I don't know why though.
Is that so? Okay, whatever it is, it's earthenware that's glazed, so that's the whole issue. Okay, anyways, weiter. So
Someone
we're
here is on
saying-
Wikipedia right now.
What?
I said someone in this group is on Wikipedia right now finding out.
Okay, that's fine. Right? Yeah, so I have a shir in the afternoon that I give to the newly from Shayashu, from the program they have there. So I say halachas, and these guys are Googling it and checking up on me in a second. I got to know what. Otherwise, they tell me, oh, I mean, there's this opinion, that opinion. I say, well, who says that? Oh, this one is Rabbi Soloveitchik. You know,
Oh, so
and
bone
this-
ash is porcelain that's composed of 30% ash from bone and then other materials as well.
I hear. Okay. All right. So if it was made out of bone, l'chara, that's tummy. Okay, whatever it is. So anyway,
So
so
does
you
that
have
mean we
Kli
can't use
Glolim.
bone china?
No, you could use it. That's fine. That's fine. You could use it. You talking about treif? Nah, that's fine. Anyways, varei Kli Glolim, Kli Avonim, Kli Adama, she'em ekam tuma, loimi divrei Torah, loimi divrei Sofrim. that none of these are makabel tumah, not midrabanan and not midaraisa. And if it does get sealed, right, like we discussed before, if it's sealed, so then no tumah can go in, so then it would have to be missing most of the kli. Okay, hadran Allah hamatzniya. That's the end of the tumah and tara. Okay, so now we start with the major perek, and some of it can get a little bit complicated, but the major perek about carrying things inside and outside of it from Rishus HaYachid to Rishus HaRab. Right? So, and we'll learn all sorts of rules, different rules and regulations. But anyways, Azorik, Rishus HaYachid, Rishus HaRabim, if you throw, it's interesting that the Gemara starts with throwing as opposed to carrying. Right? But Azorik, Rishus HaYachid, Rishus HaRabim, Rishus HaRabim, Rishus HaYachid, Chayev. Okay, so that's basic Shabbos that we're all aware of, right? You throw from Rishus HaYachid, Rishus HaRabim, Rishus HaRabim, Rishus HaYachid, you're going to be Chayev Chatas. Rishus HaYachid, Rishus HaYachid, Rishus HaRabim be'emtza. From Rishus HaYachid to Rishus HaYachid, and there's a Rishus HaRabim in the middle. Rabbi Kiva mechayev, Chachamim patur. Rabbi Kiva says you're Chayev, right? Which we'll see in the Gemara why, and the Chachamim say you're patur. Ketzad, what's the case? Shtei gizus trois. Zu keneged zu, Rishus HaRabim. If you have two porches, one opposite the other in Rishus HaRabim, so then Hamoshit vazarik mizul zu patur. If you, meaning, let's say you have a ball, you want to have a ball game. Kids are stuck at home because of Corona, right? This actually does have to do with Corona a little bit, but so they're throwing a ball across the street from one porch to the other, right? So you're potter for that. Again, across the street, potter. Again, shtegezutzras, two porches, zukenegezu, one opposite the other, Rishus HaRabim. So that's obviously Rishus HaYachid, Rishus HaYachid, Rishus HaRabim in the middle. Hamoishev Azarik Mazulazu potter. Those, anybody who hands or throws from one to the other is potter. It's aser, but it's potter. But if both porches are on the same side of the street, then Hamoishev Chayev Azarik potter. One who hands something from one porch to the other, let's say it's like a long piece of wood or whatever it is, and you're able to hand it, then you're going to be Chayev. Azarik potter, but if you throw it, it's potter. Shekachos Avodas Halavim. This was the Avodah Levim. Shtei Agolis Zu Achar Zu B'Rishus HaRabim. The way they would load up the Mishkan onto the wagons, right? So there were two wagons, one after the other one in Rishus HaRabim, right? They would back up two wagons to each other, right? One in front of the other one. By Shita Nakroshim Mizulazu, and they would hand the how do you call it? The Kroshim, the pillars that made up the Mishkan from one wagon to the other. Avaloi Zarkim, they didn't throw it. Simon, this strengthens your kasha from a couple of days ago. Because so basically what we're saying is that the way the wagons worked in the Mishkan is they backed up the wagons to the Mishkan. Right? There were four wagons, 2 and 2. Right? So what they would do is they would put the Krushim onto the first wagon, and then they would hand it over to the wagon that was behind it. Right? They wouldn't go across to each other. It would go from back and right one behind the other. So therefore we're saying that the only way to be chayiv is to do it exactly the way they did it in the Mishkan, which was front to back, not side to side. So therefore, you have two porches across the street from each other. That's not the way they did it in the Mishkan. In the Mishkan, they did it back and forth. So if you're on the same side of the street and you hand it that way, then you will be chayiv for that. But across the street, you're potter for that. Happens to be with making a minyan when you're davening outside on porches, right? Two porches on the same side of the street is much better lahalacha than two porches across the street from each other, because the street makes a separation between it. That has no shaykhus in the halacha, I don't think, to this, but that is a practical example. But what Simon was asking the other day is how specific do we make the Mishkan? Right? Everything's based on the Mishkan. Here we're being extremely specific that it has to be almost exactly the way they did in the Mishkan. Why not just say you hand from Rishus HaYachid, Rishus HaYachid, through Rishus HaRabim? What's the difference which way you do it? No, it has to be exactly that way, right? But a lot of other things in the Mishkan, we don't say it has to be exactly for what they did in the Mishkan, meaning for the Mishkan, they shechted animals we had this in the morning, Rabban, right? They shechted the animals for the skins, right? So why don't we say that the only time you're chayav for shechting animals is for skins? Let's say you shecht an animal because you want it for a toy for your kid, so then maybe you shouldn't be chayav. But we don't say that. So it's very, very unclear exactly when we require it to be specifically the way it was done in the Mishkan, like we have it here, or not. Yeah? Okay, so let's say that's the Mishnah. Just another practical example is so my kids, when they want to get something from Yeshiva, we don't use the Eruv. So I imagine most people know the house, my mother's house. So they want to get something from Yeshiva to my mother's property. So they say, okay, I'm throwing from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah, Derek Rosh Hashanah, right? Which is Potter. No, okay. So they don't know it's Potter al-Asr, but they know it's a concept. I have no idea how they know this concept, but they know that maybe they can get away with it, right? Okay, whatever it is. So Zok Gemara. Huh?
1 second. Shechting for a toy is allowed?
Is not allowed, but it's not the way they did it. That's not the way they did shechita in the Mishkan.
Don't we learn psik ratio? Isn't the real
I
thing
understand. That's exactly the kasha. Here we're saying that the handing in Rishus from Rishus Hayachid to Rishus Hayachid to Rishus Ram has to be exactly the way it was done in the Mishkan.
Oh.
One behind the other, right?
And it can't be the other way around.
Can't be from across the street, from side to side. It's got to be one. Okay. So why don't we say that by other melachos of the Mishkan too, that it has to be so specific?
Wait, the shechita is the way they did it. It's not what
Correct.
they did it for. It's the way they did it. This the melachos.
Yeah, but you're being very specific about it. Right? If you're less specific,
Melacha itself is different.
I'm saying,
no, but the specificity is in different dimensions.
correct.
We're being specific with the action. By shechita, the action remains the same.
Correct, and here the action remains the same too.
No, it's different. Zayrik and
not Zarik Moshe. I'm talking about Zarik. Zarik Moshe is a different issue. I'm talking about handing it one behind the other as opposed to one across.
Different. And sideways. That's
you
a
got to
different
take
action.
off your Bluetooth. You got to take off your Bluetooth.
Oh,
He's gone. He's gone.
It is a different action, side to side.
It's the same action, but you're saying that it's a little broader, right? Saying sometimes you have.
It does regard the action, not the purpose.
Okay, but so when do you look at each one? Like at what point? How broad do you make it? Whatever. I'm just trying to strengthen. Yeah. Fine. Yeah. Okay. So Zok the Gemara. Yeah. Mirti. Yeah. Zrika toldah da'itza. He throwing is a toldah of carrying. Right? Because we're talking about, like we discussed, the Mishnah starts off with throwing. Throwing is a toldah of carrying, right? Of taking it out from one rishus to another rishus. Haitzah gufa hechiksiva. Where does it say that haitzah is also in the Torah? Right? Meaning, how do you know haitzah is also on Shabbos? Moshe commanded, "Vayaviru kol b'machane," and a call went out, a voice went out in the machane. Right? So, meaning this is talking about when they were asked everybody to donate things to the Mishkan, and then everybody brought so many things, so Moshe had to tell everybody to stop. Right? So Moshe sent out a voice and said, got to stop bringing things to the Mishkan. So Moshe Heichen Havayah. So where was Moshe sitting? B'machane Leviyah. He was sitting in the Levi section. U'machane Leviyah Rishus Harabim Havay. And the Machane Leviyah was Rishus Harabim. V'ka'armalu Yisrael, and he told Klai Yisrael, Loisafiku b'teisum Rishus Hayachid tidku l'Rishus Harabim. Do not bring anything from your Rishus Hayachid to Rishus Harabim.
Didn't we learn yesterday or the day before though that some of the work for the base of Mikdash, or I mean, maybe this isn't the base of Mikdash, this is the, whatever. That the work for the base of Mikdash, some of it was allowed on Shabbos, like burning the wicks so that they burn better and other things of that sort.
Right. Yeah, but this is talking about when they initially brought stuff to the Mishkan.
To the Mishkan.
This is the initial time that they brought stuff to the Mishkan. So Moshe had to tell them to stop. So the Gemara is learning out that it was on Shabbos.
Was that a din in the Mishkan though, or a din in general? Meaning, just because.
Well, so that's what the Gemara is trying to figure out now. That's what the Gemara is trying to figure out. So really, it was talking about when he was telling everybody to stop bringing things to the Mishkan. What the Gemara is learning out is that it was on Shabbos, and he said, "Don't bring anything from your Rishus Hayachid to my Rishus Harab." Right, that's what he was saying. So he said, "When my the B'Shabbos koi," so the Gemara asked, "How do you know it was on Shabbos? Dilma b'chol koi." Maybe it was talking about during the week, melacha, and it's because, and he told him to stop bringing things because the work was completed. Right, the work was enough. So, right? So now how do we know that it was a Shabbos issue? Maybe it was just an issue that they didn't need it. So Gemara answers, Gomer Havara Havara Miyam Kippurim. No, because we learned it out from Exer Shava, from the similar words that it says Havara, which means to pass over, to move in Rishus Harabim. And we learned it out from Yom Kippur. And a coal went out or passed over through the camp. And a shofar, and they blew a shofar, a true on the shofar. So just like over there, it's talking about because of the day, it's asur. So too here, it's going to say the reason why Moshe told him to stop bringing it is because it was Shabbos. So Gemara says, that tells you that you're not allowed to bring something out from your house out to Rishus Harabim. How about taking something from Rishus Harabim, bringing it into Rishus HaYachid? So Svara here, it's a Svara. Michti, let's see, Rishus, from one property to another property, meaning from Rishus HaYachid, Rishus Harabim, who it's one property to another property. Mali Afuke, Mali Ayule. What's the difference if I'm going out, or what's the difference if I'm going in? Right? So therefore, we're learning out that any transfer of items from one rishus to another rishus is going to be asur. It makes no difference if it's rishus haram, rishus hayachid, rishus hayachid, rishus haram. Even though the pasuk in the Torah is referring to taking something from rishus hayachid to rishus haram. Okay, miu hatza av hachnasa toldah, right? So however, hatza is the av and the hachnasa is the toldah, meaning carrying out. From the Rishus HaYachid, Rishus Harabim is the father, meaning that's the major melacha, and the hachnas is a toldah. Right? The basic question, right? Because we keep learning about avos, melachos, and toldas. Toldas literally means the children of the father, right? So we're saying that there's avos, melachos, and toldas. They're both chayiv korban. They're both asim midaraisa. So who cares which one is an av, which one's a toldah, right? But my korele hai toldah. Again, my korele hai av, my korele hai toldah. Why are you calling this one an av? Why are you calling this one a toldah? Nafkamina di avet shtei avos b'hadei adadi. No, the difference is let's say you do two avos melachos at the same time, right? So you have to know if it's avos or not, if they're two different avos or not. Inami shtei toldas b'hadei adadi. Mechayev tarti. If you're going to do two different toldas at the same time, then you're going to be chayiv too. Vi avid tolda di day lo mechayev alachad. But if you do an av and a tolda, then you're only going to be chayiv one because it all goes under one category. So that's why it's important to know when something is an av and when something is a tolda, or to know whether it's different avos or different toldas of different melachos. So Gemara asks, Rabbi Lazar, the mechayev tolda b'malkim av, my korli av, my korli tolda. Rabbi Lazar holds that when you do a tolda and an av, you are chayiv separately, right? So let's say an av, we're saying now an av is to carry it from Rishus HaYachid into Rishus Harabim, right? And the toldah is carrying from Rishus Harabim to Rishus HaYachid. So we're saying, right, we just got finished saying, not like Rabbi Eliezer, that's considered just saying you only give me chayiv one because one is the toldah of an av. But according to Rabbi Eliezer, who holds you would be chayiv twice for a toldah of Makam Av, so then why do we call Av and toldah? It should make no difference. So my answer is Hach Tahavai b'Mishkan Chashiva Korelei Av. Hach Loy Av b'Mishkan Chashiva Loy Korelei Av. Things that were counted or done in the Mishkan, we call that an Av. Things that were not done specifically in the Mishkan, then it's called a toldah. Which again doesn't really make any difference in the halacha of it. It's just a matter of we just want to, for clarity's sake, which one is asur because it was done in the Mishkan, or what's because it maybe came. It's a not a fallout. How do you say it? It's a derivative, maybe a derivative of something. Oh, I like that word, huh? Okay, now I just don't know what derivative means. Fine, right? Inami hach teksiva kari ab like ksiva kari told us. Similar answer. One things that are written beferish, that's called an av. Some that are not written explicitly is called toldah. But the Tanan, so then what it says, well, the Tanan Zorik Dalan was because if somebody throws, we had this before, right? If you throw something
before you move on, I'm sorry. Is there a difference in din when it comes to av and toldah in this case? Meaning they're both neither one of them's derabanan, right? One of them.
No, they're both deraisa, right? No, there's the only
Deraisa,
right. So we're saying the only nafkamina is for regarding punishments. If they're two different, if it's a toldah of the same av, then and you did it in one forgetting, then you're only going to be chayav one. Right?
Say again.
If it's the same toldah of the av, meaning if they all go under one category, one is the av and one is the toldah, and you did it at this, you did a mistake with one forgetting, then you're only going to be chayav one carbon. That's why it's important to know whether it's a toldah or whether it's an av. Meaning, if it's a separate av, then you would be chayav two karbanos. But we're now going according to Rebbe Eliezer, though, who holds that even if you do a toldah and an av, you're still going to be chayav two. So now we just have to figure out why, then what the difference is between av and toldah, which we're really saying there is no difference. It's just a counting, just to figure out what, just to know how it went down.
It makes a difference now, though. It sounds like it makes a difference now, though, because if you do like the b'shogeg, you do something, but it had nothing. Like you were dragging the what do you call it, the bench, and it does a thing. You've technically done the toldah melacha,
right?
But if you had done it with the intent of making it, then you would have been chayav carbon chatas. But if you did it just to, you're dragging the bench, you were too strong, whatever, you wouldn't be, right?
Correct. Yeah, but that is ein mischav, and that's not. Yeah, that is correct.
So that's what I'm saying. Like it's the toldah melacha does have some difference in din then.
Yeah, but if it could be an av too, it could be the same. It could be the av too.
Oh.
Right. It could be the same. You could be doing that a couple of different ways. There's all different ways of plowing. Dragging a bench. You could dig a hole with a shovel. Whatever it is.
Well, I would think if we're so makpid on it being specific towards the thing, it wouldn't be a bench. It's mamish a plow, and you just happen to be moving it because it's blocking the door or
right,
something.
So you're right. So no, that would be considered a toldah. Yeah, it would be considered a toldah.
Well, that would be the warning. That would be the av.
What?
5-minute warning.
Or be an av. Yeah, 5-minute warning. Yeah, we got to get moving. Okay, yeah, but yeah, no. So you're right. It would depend on the different types of plowing. 100%. Yeah. Okay, for Tanan, this is what we learned in a Mishna. Hazorek dalet Amos bekoisel l'malam yutfachim. Right, so somebody throws something on a wall above 10 tefachim. So we know that anything above 10 tefachim is not rishus harabim, right? It's considered rishus hayochid. Okay, so hazorek dalet Amos bekoisel on a wall l'malam yutfachim above 10 tefachim kizorik ba'avir. That's like throwing it in the air. L'matam yutfachim, in which case it doesn't land anywhere, so therefore you're potter. If you throw it and it's less than 10 tefachim high, then it's as if you threw it on the ground. What's the rule? What's the din? And if you throw something on the ground 4 amos, then you chayev. So zorek dalet amos just around minolan de mechayev. How do we know that you throw something on the ground and rishus harabim you're chayev? Amar Rav Yoshia shekain arge yiriyas zarken machtein zelazeh. The people that wove the urias, the curtains that went around the whole Mishkan, right? The Mishkan, we're going to see this a lot in the coming blot, that they would cover, the Mishkan had the crusher made out of wood, and then around it, that had all layers of what I just call it? Urias?
Curtains.
Not curtains, was it curtains or?
Fabric.
Yeah, fabric around the things, right? So the Arge Urias would throw their needles to each other. So therefore, that's where they was throwing in the Mishkan. So Gemara says, Argen Machten Lamalu. People that weave, what do you need a needle for? When you weave, it's just the loom, right? You don't need to. There's no needles there. So Ella Shekain Taifer Urias Argen Machten Zelazah. No, okay. So the people that sewed up these Urias would throw it to each other. But who said they needed to throw it to each other? Maybe they sat right next to each other, right? All the people sewing the curtains would be sitting right next to each other. Who said they had to throw? Right? Matu hadadi b'machtein. No, because then the Gemara says they're going to hit each other with their needles, because the needles they need some room in between each other, right? So then Gemara says, well, Dilma b'sayich arba amas avayasvi. But okay, good. They needed some room, but they didn't have to be 4 amos away from each other. The 4 amos is somewhere between 18 inches per amma, right? So it's a lot. You don't need that much room.
Social distancing.
There you go. Very good. Very good. Yeah, that one went over my head. I should have thought that one. Very good. Ella Amar Chista Shekain Oyer Girias Zarkin Buchyer B'Yeria. So the Yerias, the way they used the Buchya is the whatever thing that you put across to when you're doing the loom, right? So you have the woof and the thing, right? So
it's called
shuttle.
A shuttle.
The shuttle. There you go.
Shuttle.
The shuttle, right? That's where I guess the word shuttle comes from. The shuttle is the thing that you put across back and forth. So that they used to throw that, right? Zaychen Buchyer B'Yeria. So Gemara says, he didn't let go of it, right? He didn't throw it like a ball. He was always holding on to the other end of it. Otherwise, it would go straight through the loom all the way out. He'd have to go and catch it, right? Meaning he was always holding on to something. It wasn't totally. He was holding on to the. How do you call it? To the string. I don't know, string. There's a better word than string, right? So we say Beniska Basa was the last one where he didn't have to hold it in his hand, right? The last time he threw it through, he didn't have to hold on to it because he didn't have to get it back on the other side. Oh, so but Gemara says it's not going to Rosh Hashanah. That's a Makim Patur. We look at the loom that it's own property, right? It's not Rosh Hashanah, it's not Rosh Hashanah. So what are we saying? Throwing it through Rosh Hashanah, that's not Rosh Hashanah. That's a Makim Patur. Ella Shekain. So now we still don't know what it is. Ella Shekain Argeiri Zarkin Buchir L'Shayalein. No, so those that were sewing the curtains would throw this buchir to lend it to others, meaning there are a bunch of people sewing it, not weaving. So you say, hey, can I borrow your shuttle? So you throw them the shuttle. So Gemara says, maybe they were all sitting next to each other. Who says they had to throw it to each other? No, because then they would end up hitting each other. So maybe they were sitting with each other, but they were staggered. Right? Talk about social distancing. I mean, they weren't all in the same row. Maybe one was like a brick, right? One was sitting here and one was sitting here a little further behind the person. So they weren't so far away from each other. Did they borrow from each other? Batanya Luda said, Ish mi melachta yasher hema oisim. Right? Each person did the melacha that they did. Each person did his own melacha and he did not do the melacha of his friend. And also, how do we know carrying 4 amos in Shusharam is chayev? Ella, kol dal amos Shusharam, Gemara Gemirila. Anytime we say that you can't carry in Rosh Hashanah 4 amos, you can't carry 4 amos in Rosh Hashanah, that is a Gemara Gemirila, it's halacha l'maisha misina. That's usually what Gemara Gemirila means. It's halacha l'maisha misina. There's no specific thing that we learned it out from the Mishna. Yeah? Should we finish the next one? Okay, I guess we'll stop here. Fine.
Yeshua Marchuk. Scott.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? You hear me?
I hear. Okay. When you speak, I feel like the Rabban Shalom's talking.
Okay, good. Thank you. When you look up tomorrow night's year, the word Ludi in the Gemara, the middle of the second wide line, look up Luddite in Wikipedia, Luddite, and see if that movement comes from the name in the Gemara, please. You'll be very interested in it.
Oh yeah?
Luddite?
Okay, sounds Luddite. All right, have a good night, folks.
Sounds like a Star Wars character.
Yeah. Good night. Yashikayach.
Anyhow, Rabbi, I sent you another link on WhatsApp.
And what do I do with it?
Just click on it and join the group.
Just click on it.
Just click on it.
Aaron, there's a button that says join the group. Use that big finger of yours to go pop, and you're done.
1 second. No. I got some Israeli singing here.
That's singing, that's cursing.
I don't know what the guy's doing. Moshe Dai, don't laugh at me, Moshe Dai. That one time we'll be in the same shul. You know what I mean? At some point, it's a shame. Okay, I clicked on follow the link. Now what do I do?
I don't. You press join group.
Where does it say join group?
Do me a favor. Hold the phone up to the camera. Maybe we could see here. No, all I see is your beautiful face.
Did you click on the blue, Rabban? Click on that blue link.
It's not blue.
It says follow this link to join my WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
So you clicked on it, and what happened?
Now it says your number blocked contacts will no longer be able to call you or send you messages. I don't want that, right?
You don't want to block me.
Oh, you're not in his phone, Parrots. He just called you out. You're not in his phone. You have to, the message, not where it says block contact or whatever.
I don't think you have to be in my phone. If you click on it, what happens?
No, on WhatsApp, if you're not in the phone, remember it will come up if someone that's not on your phone texts you. It'll say like block contact, add contact, it's something like that. So or just say okay the message, okay that you're accepting a message from Parrots, and then the message will come up.
Add to contacts?
Yeah, just put
Yeah,
Parrots.
add me to contacts. Let's see what happens.
Okay. Okay.
Good night. I love you.